But speaking of which, so I was saying that this brother Geechee Motivator put me on to this cat, Pocket Watching with JT, and who does, you know, straight-laced, the reason I was put on and the reason I liked the channel, I started really watching it, is because he does go at a lot of the hustlers that I like to challenge, but in a different way. You know, so he goes, he got a video on Boyce Watkins and Jay Morris and several on Morrison. You know, he's talked about, you know, Brother Polite a little bit and stuff like that, but not from the perspective. And what I like about it, he's not necessarily going directly at anybody's politics or anything, although there is obvious biases. But he's really just showing for his audience, again, sort of a mainstream audience, Black audience, what is in terms of sort of institutional, official, sanctioned economics or business is what is wrong with what they're doing. And why, you know, he makes fun of him and all that, but he's not, you know, so he's not going at him for being reactionary or capitalist and then all that. In fact, he's very pro-capitalist, as we're going to see, and I'm going to show in this clip in just a second. But he's just showing, he's trying to say, like, there is a system here. You can work it if you know how to work it. And what I liked about it is he's at least saying we shouldn't be ripping each other off in this way. Now, but then they did a video he did with his colleague, as we'll see in a minute, the other day, where his colleague who's in real estate comes on and they start talking about the coming or beginning or worsening eviction crisis. And this is where these lanes exist. So there are these lanes of there, you know, the all-out hustlers and grifters and thieves and crooks. And then there are lanes of, I love Black people, I love my community, but, you know, I'm a mainstream, maybe slightly even, you know, politically conservative, you know, socially conservative, you know, but I love Black people. I don't want us to get ripped off, but I love this system and we can work it. It can work. He's in that lane. I think you and I occupy other lanes in other spaces that, you know, and where there's some overlap is we agree Boyce Watkins and them shouldn't be offering up horrific economic advice and ripping off people and taking their investment money and having it disappear into Tulsa scams and all this other stuff.
Remember that video of the guy, the Chinese guy that was talking, and the white guy talking about Boyce Watkins and how he was a hustler. They basically were talking about, you know, that their workings with him and stuff. You know, it's amazing. And people, that it was out there, and people still, you know, they acted like they didn't see it. You know?
He literally says we send Boyce into spaces to bring this message that we can't go into. I mean, it's
under the guise of Black empowerment.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's by the way, in a few minutes we're going to get to, I want to there's a sort of another version of that I'm going to bring up in just a minute, actually. So that's actually a perfect pre segue of sorts. But anyway, so we're not going to watch much of this, and actually I'll add the link later, because what they're actually talking about, well, you'll see here. So they bring up this, they start by bringing up, so we're watching them watch this video about a news story about the coming eviction crisis. And I'm just going to play, you know, maybe about 90 seconds, 2 minutes of this so you can get the gist of where I'm going.
Court has decided to end coronavirus pandemic-related eviction protections for most of the U.S.
Supreme Court. Yeah.
Attorney General Merrick Garland has issued a call to action to the legal community in an effort to defend American families facing possible eviction. A new analysis from Goldman Sachs says an estimated 3.5 million households are behind on rent. Under the current policy, 750,000 households could face eviction by the end.
Hey, do you remember what it was like during the first, you know, the crash back in 2008? How many people were positioned to be either,
and that's an echo on their video,
because this number seems as high, if not higher,
or curious
than that number?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit less than that, maybe a tad bit less. But I think that's because of the fact that it wasn't, I mean, it was a lot of people being underneath their house, like the value.
Right. And it was to the point where they was like, hey, why am I paying a mortgage on a house where I owe more than what the value of it is?
Right. And it was compounded with everyone being in those ARM loans where, you know, the variable rate was changing. Right. So that was compounded with this. With this scenario, it's just, you know, people not paying nothing. Like they just stop paying. They just stop paying.
Right. They got super comfortable without paying.
End of the
All right, so that's all I really wanted to take time with this morning, given that we got some important guests coming in the 9 o'clock hour. There's more we could have watched that really just elaborates on the point where they were headed. So the news story is actually about how the Supreme Court says, look, rightfully, I have to agree with them. Congress, you didn't pass any laws to protect people from being evicted, so there's nothing we can do about it. You all were supposed to pass laws. In fact, we even told you to do that more than a month ago, and now all of you Democrats included, squad included, are faking the funk like you were surprised and you trying to save people. So they that was, and they were talking to the dean. Oh, you're muted, my man. Sorry.
No, I was saying I'm clutching my pearls, not the squad.
Yes, exactly, not the squad. Now I elaborated that part. Of course, the Supreme Court wasn't saying all that. I just elaborated that part. But the news story is saying, so they got the dean of the Georgetown Law Center and some others in around the country. Apparently, a collection of powerful law schools have gotten together to say something. They want to, they're saying we want to help people who are being evicted. We want to help people keep people from being evicted. They're raising up, and it sounds like they're trying to do something good. And these two brothers are basically hating on this news segment and hating on all of the lawyers and people wanting now to seek legal help from being evicted, because they're saying y'all just decided you didn't want to pay anymore. And what they were saying was, unlike the legitimate crisis in 2008, which this is about to surpass, where people were really messed up because they got stuck in bad loans and all this other kind of stuff. This crisis is driven more so by people who have just decided we don't want to pay. And my point in this is that what they end up going into this as far as the discussion, and it takes like 45 minutes into their program before they really even acknowledge at all, yeah, I know COVID shut everything down and people got sick and people lost their jobs and careers were messed up, but you should have known that your coming eviction was on its way and started to begin to take advantage of this. And what they're really confessing, and this is the point I was getting at about the lanes, what they're really confessing to in their video is that as people in real estate and who own real estate, and when you see the people in their chat start putting, and this is why I started by praising our chat and sharing the news of Julia Wright's praise of our chat, because their chat starts popping up with, if y'all broke, if you knew you was going to get evicted, you needed to get an Uber job, or you needed to get out there and start doing that. And, I got property, and they were actually praising, there were Black people being praised, and they were themselves being praising or self-praising for owning property and buying up property, even in throughout St. Louis and in Ferguson. So as Black people in particular are being crushed under the weight of evictions and joblessness and houselessness and everything else that already existed, these brothers come on here presenting themselves again as we're blocking the frauds, we're stopping the frauds, we're giving you good advice, and condemning poor people, while lofting up and protecting and lifting up a system that, of course, protects and is designed to protect landlords, of which they are petty landlords compared to the Black Rocks and everybody else buying up all the major property.
Who they aspire to be.
Which
is why they're backing up that whole thing.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. So what I was just trying to say is that is one reason why, among many, that so many in our community, who even among those who present themselves as well-wishing and who are not, I mean, they're not horrible people. Right. They're just politically, in this case, wildly wrong.
Yeah.
They dominate the landscape between them and the outright hustlers and all the other stuff. They dominate the landscape and make it so difficult.
Well, because I think the main thing is, and I'm sorry to jump in there,
but good, please.
I think the main reason why they do it is because they know something's wrong, right? They know the system is, they know something's wrong. right? But they don't want to go. They only want to go so far when it comes to the system, because they want to. They still believe in it, you know. And that's always been my refrain. I guess is like people still believe in this, just like the white people on the left that you and I particularly follow. That we you know, we check out their work, we appreciate it, but they still believe in the system. So they have blind spots, because you know, when you still believe in a lie, if you still believe in a magician's magic trick is actually real, you know what I mean? You're not gonna really be open to anything else other than outside of the fantasy that's been kind of, you know, nurtured in your head. And so I think that's really why this space is so important, because so many people get confused that, as Kwame Ture used to say, you know, capitalism will confuse you. You know, that's what happens, because in their particular instance, it confuses them because they've kind of sort of made it a little bit, you know, it's worked for them a little bit, and they aspire to be like the other people. And so therefore they're kind of caught in this space where they say, well, yeah, there were bad loans and there were this and that. By the way, bad loans that people qualified for, good loans, and they still got bad loans, by the way, with 700, 800, 900, whatever scores or whatever. But so they know that there's a problem, but they still want to believe it. They still believe there's a ray of hope, and let's try the same thing over again. That didn't work the first time. And another thing too that came to mind, people say that they believe in capitalism, and I'm talking about people like these guys here. But in reality, if you don't believe in exploitation, if you don't believe that people should get bad loans, if you don't believe that people should be, swindled out of their homes in various ways, then you don't believe in capitalism. Right. You may want to reevaluate that, because what you're talking about is something that's based more in an equitable system, and that's not what capitalism is. By its own design, capitalism is about exploitation. It's about extracting as much as you can at any cost. It does not matter that the world is going to hell, that we got all these storms that are caused by all this pollution, and all this plastic, and all this. It's profit driven. The bottom line is the bottom line, no matter what, come hell or high water. Like literally, now when it comes to the high water these days.
The only part where they come back and that diagram crosses back over into where we might end up is where they come back and they say something to the effect that if the government were to come in and cover the rents and cover the mortgages and cover what the landlords would be losing by these rents not being paid, they would be all for that. But that's not the case. So either pay your rent or you got to get out, because I got to get somebody in there who can pay the rent. And so part of where I try to, give some room and in my increasing age, be less combative with brothers like this, is to be reminded that it is the system that is encouraging that. So the system is, because they even did say, look, if we had a situation where my stuff would get covered, I don't need to kick anybody out. But if we don't, then I'm definitely going to kick somebody out. And I'm going to even do it as I'm acknowledging a systemic problem, blaming them on the way out the door for not finding the right program or finding another hustle or doing whatever they were, or is it, in one point they said, why are you buying food instead of paying your rent? You can always get out there and get somebody to give you some food, but you can't always get out but somebody's not going to drive by and hand you an apartment. That's what they were saying.
Listen, they're not even hearing themselves talking. That's what you're saying. I mean, you can't hear yourself. You have to be tone deaf at that particular point if you say some shit like that. That doesn't make any sense at all.
It was wild. I mean, it's but sort of to the point, and what I was going to connect this to is that again, because I have the Google alert, on buying power set up, I keep getting these, and it came up once again, but in a way that is in some ways similar to what we're just talking about, but also explains again why this is such a problem. So as it says here, Black Lives Matter changed the way consumers view brands forever. This is an ad week, one of the leading, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. It's one of the leading advertising, industry. What
is your brand? Black Lives Matter. It's a brand. You got to really secure your brand. It's a brand now. It's not just, it's more than just, yeah.
It's not a movement. You're not trying to get power. You're trying to, it's brand management.
Yeah.
That's, so as it just says here, the mainstreaming of Black Lives Matter was one of the defining events of 2020, having mobilized citizens all over the world. It sparkled a tide of social activism not seen for decades. Now, a little over a year later, many Americans are at a point of reflection. Now, on Monday, we went through and showed how the money many of these companies and banks are giving it doesn't end up doing anything. Most of it is in loans and mortgages and investment inducements, so that these banks and big corporations that are offering what little they're offering will likely and can come back to them with profit. It's also a pittance compared to how much they make every year. We went through all of that on Monday. So in many ways, this argument has already been shown to be moot. But the reason I think it's still relevant for us, at least this morning, is that even as it's talking about the way that these uprisings supposedly have helped shift and encouraged brand and corporate rebranding and involvement in supporting Black progress, there's this little nugget in here. So it just says UPS, Johnson & Johnson, and Bank of America are just a few household names among many that have made substantial long-term financial and cultural commitments towards reducing racial disparities. Now, again, on Monday, we showed specifically how that's false. So that argument is false. Please go check that video. I'll add the link later, whatever. Okay. Additionally, resources like the Black Dollar Index have made it easier than ever for people to hold companies accountable on the diversity and inclusion front using their buying power. So this is, again, why I got the Google alert. And so I just want to quickly show. So I clicked on this because I had not ever heard of the Black Dollar Index, Brother Kaba. So I don't know if this is something you're familiar with, but I thought it was fascinating. Empowering the Black consumer through corporate transparency. The Black Dollar Index is a multi-factor scoring system that rates top consumer-facing corporations from 0 to 100 across critical factors for racial equality. And it's fascinating. Offers brand spotlight. It gives you their ratings. So Nike has a BDI rating of 74. That's pretty good. Whereas Adidas, just a rating of 9. You all have to do
Run
better.
Run DMC needs to get a new song out.
They need a new contract.
Back in the day, we used to rock Adidas because of Run DMC. I remember that.
That's it.
Yeah.
I without confessing too much, there are remnants of that struggle and influence still impacting some of us today.
Without revealing too much, while revealing a whole lot.
Brother, I'm just I don't even know what you talk about. I'm just over here talking. But I didn't think they're so but they do have a methodology, which I thought was interesting. Where the quantitative side, how many Black employees do you have, Black leadership, management, board of directors, etc. The qualitative side, do you have known negative racial claims, known significant investment? So
where's the Black power at? Where's the Black power? Where's that?
But so that's the part I'm going to get to that in just a quick second. But I just wanted folks.
I don't see the Black Power Index.
Well, it's not
a
Black
buying
Power
out.
Index.
Just give me the Black Power, not the Black buying power. The Black Power Index.
It's a Black Dollar Index.
Yeah,
the Black Power Index would probably be rated pretty low at this point. So you could go through and you can see. Look, Amazon 52. All right, Allstate, you're in good hands, brother. It's a 90. You know what I'm saying? They're up there. Bank of America.
Oh wow,
coming in with that. AT&T. So clearly the world can't be that. Look at Blackstone buying up all the property. They only have an 18. So maybe, you know what I mean? They could improve. So anyway, so it's, they rate all this stuff. They, you can get a rating, et cetera, et cetera.
Usual suspects.
So when I tried to find out, I did try to find out who they are and who put this together, and went and just did a little. It's not immediately easy to find, but with a click here and a click there, I did. Let's see. Oh wait, that's it there. I did find that. Now, how did I get there? You know what? How did I get there? I thought I even put the link there because you can't get to there. Our story. All right. Give me 1 second. My bad, everybody. I thought I had the link say, oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. I did have it. Whew, I was about to say. All right. Because honestly, I can't, it took a little bit to get there, you know, because it's not readily available. But I did find the Black Dollar Index here on LinkedIn. And it says it has 2 employees. One is an unpictured Tamara Yang, who's an assistant publicist at the Los Angeles Sparks at the WNBA, associated with the USC Annenberg School for Communication and Journalism, big time school, university. But
big time endowment.
Big time endowment. But as it says here, she's a publicist, or they are, I'm not sure of the pronoun, they are a publicist who develop media pitching strategy that lands coverage in major outlets, co-headed the Black Dollar Initiative, it's described here, or Index press campaign, and served as main media contact, public relations consultant. I think we're getting a theme. Media pitches, news releases, creative briefs, op-eds, and fact sheets. All right. So that's one. But the main
any Gucci ghosts in there?
I didn't see that. But maybe Kelly Roselle, she, her, creative marketer, consumer advocacy platform founder. Creative marketing professional with experience in strategy, content creation, paid media, digital influencer, and social media marketing, experiential, general multicultural demographics, media and music industries. Marketing director for Disney General Entertainment, where she is currently employed. Develops, manages, innovates the lead and marketing and paid media charge across ABC News, which includes Good Morning America 2020, World News Tonight, The View, Soul of a Nation, and more. And then she also heads up, is the founder of the Black Dollar Index. So my point in bringing this up is that as I'm arguing in the buying power argument, and I think have shown, et cetera, and so forth. And as I think we see on display here again with the Black Dollar Index, and I think is clearly evidenced in the relationship she has to her main job at Disney with what she does there. This is bringing brands, major corporations, into contact with a particular audience and a particular consumer base meant to purchase those items. That is ever and all buying power has ever meant to describe. It is not an indication of strength of economic condition. It is not an indication of wealth or income. It is strictly for consumer branding, marketing, advertising, and the direction of the almost $600 billion overall ad budget, revenue budget for these corporations to Black owned media primarily, or groups like this that are paid or fundraise or generate revenue by bringing ads or consumers to corporations, or in this case, Black consumers to white-owned corporations. So again, it's not, as you were saying, Brother Kaba, it is not a Black power index. If it were, it would be, the numbers would all be very low. It is a Black dollar index, which is simply to say, where will these consumer dollars go? Those that that are made available to the Black community, often through credit, often through leftovers of low incomes, and without an option to access genuine wealth building possibilities. So again, that's where I see this parallel between what I was saying about pocket watchers and sort of a general worldview, pro-institutional approach, even to being critical of other hustling economic endeavors, connect that with propagated advertising, marketing, psychological warfare, public relations, strategic communication, and it creates a whole mythological mess of economics that we have to work our way through whenever we want to try to address it and get it out of here, organize it out of existence. So anyway, that was just what I wanted to show a little bit on that this fine morning.
So it's more like a buying ability index, not necessarily a buying power.
Exactly.
Because, you know,
I mean, or it's a power to enrich those who own the economy, which is a perfect, again, segue to this next clip I wanted us to look at and talk. You mentioned the white left that we look at a little bit here. And one little caveat is this, just show a little segment here of this Status Coup channel that I do check out, and their discussion with economist Steve Grumbine, who is a proponent of MMT, or modern monetary theory, and is at least offering a critique of the economic environment and what the general political response should be that is left of even the general white alternative left. But the reason I'm bringing up this clip is because they speak in this very quick clip to the economic situation overall in this country, and then speak specifically to this issue of GDP, which is often confused in this buying power nonsense, that this idea that Black people have a buying power. By the way, I don't even think, you know what, I got to bring that back up. I'm sorry. There's something there was one piece of that I didn't even highlight that I need to bring back up real quick from the Black Dollar Index page. Because what is often, as I've been arguing for a long time and trying to show, what is often done is that people talk about the buying power of Black America as Black America's GDP. And as I just wanted to highlight down here, that in the corner of their page, the Black Dollar Initiative is a consumer advocacy group dedicated to unifying the more than $1.4 trillion in yearly spending by Black Americans for racial equality. Now, here, I think it's interesting that they don't use the word power, and it reads more accurately than is often the case. That is, it's just the spending that Black Americans are said to do. It's not even necessarily an accurate number, as I've shown time and time again with the Selig centers, you know, in unclear and undefined projections and estimates in their methodology. But I just wanted to point out that they reference this mythology, albeit slightly differently, on that page. And then what is often done, as I was saying, this idea is connected to the idea of the gross domestic product. So for two reasons, I just wanted to show this clip. One, because it's an accurate description of what the economy in this country is all about and doing, but it's also an accurate, quick description of what GDP actually means. So let me just before you
play
go
that,
ahead, please.
You know, and you mentioned buying power and spending power, two different things, or at least two different perceptions. And we may recall that you opened up with Ad Week, you know, and buying power is really, it's a marketing term. That's what it is.
That's it. Exactly. Thank you. That's it. All right, let's check this out real quick.
I guess the data is showing it's growing at the fastest.
Talking about the economy growing.
Yet it remains far from normal, with some workers and small business owners facing increasingly tough times while others thrives. Steve, I don't know about you, but I think part of the reason we have the corrupt status quo that we do is because we have a media that kind of creates this alternative economy that is thriving and is booming based on numbers that, you know, Alan Greenspan or, you know, I don't know, what's his face, that devilish person for Reagan, who was the father of trickle down. I forget his name. Basically, they create this propaganda about what is the measurement for an economy booming, and what is the mechanism for an economy sinking. When in reality, I don't know. I go out in the country. I haven't spoken with every American. It's not booming. I don't know what they're citing as far as the fastest clip of a quarter of a century, but can you kind of straighten it out? What numbers do show a boom, and what is the reality in terms of whether the economy? Art Laffer, thank you very much. Whether the economy is booming.
Is that who you're talking about? Oh, okay.
Just remember, GDP is an indiscriminate number, and GDP measures all activity, period, right? And so it doesn't measure whether or not it's happening at the bottom, doesn't matter whether it's happening in Wall Street, doesn't matter if it's happening in the school system, in the health care industry, doesn't matter where it's happening. It's a sum of all income, the nation's income. And so because so much stimulus money, so much deficit spending has occurred, you naturally see a huge boom. It is in many ways, it's a good sign that money is making in the economy. The problem is, as usual, that we don't look at how that disbursement goes. We only look in aggregates. We don't look at the demographics of where it's being spent. And so the reason why you don't see any real meaningful change in Main Street is because that's not where the money's being spent at. In fact, Main Street is starving while the money is going up top, and it's still once again trickle down economics. Every bit of it is. And so one of the other things.
All right. So that was really all I wanted to for our purposes, because again, what he's saying is that, again, GDP is not an indicator of inequality within a community or a country. It's not an indicator of where the wealth is being coagulated or accumulated. It's just a description of all the money being earned by the people who own the economy. So when people keep saying the $1 trillion that Black people spend is like our GDP, A, no, it's not. B, it's not a measurement of the inequality within the Black community. So as we even talked about on Monday, it doesn't even address the reality that even what little wealth exists within any community, but within Black America, 80% of it is owned by at minimum or at most the top 20%. So and that's across the board in all those communities. So it doesn't measure that. And all it is a measurement of the money being made by the people who are earning everything, who own everything, which is why I keep saying we should be redistributing GDP and stop talking about everything else, because that's $20+ trillion every year. It's just that money is at the top 0.1%. It's in other sectors of the economy that Black people have no access to. And that's why,
well, whatever the United States GDP was in like 1809, that didn't bode well for Africans in this country. I mean, or
it sure did not.
1773 or whatever. They might have had a great GDP back then if they were even measuring it. I'm not sure when they started measuring it, but that didn't necessarily mean that we were doing all right because we were in captivity. Or the indigenous people were doing all right. They weren't all right, because of the GDP was great.
The economy was booming, and somehow, yes, those communities were not really doing so well. So absolutely. So that's why you can turn on the TV and the news person can be saying, the news reader can be saying, yes, the economy is doing well. The Dow is up. The whatever is up, and you're still broke. And you look out the window and it's still the same, and that's why. And then
it's kind of like what happens when who becomes the president.
Oh,
we gotta get this person elected. Oh, we gotta get this guy out. Oh, we gotta. But then when we turn around,
make all the difference.
This is the most important election of all time. Every 4 years. It's the most important of all time, and our collective situation remains the same. As a matter of fact, it's not remained the same. It's actually gotten worse over the past 50 years.
Worse. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.